Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday, August 28th. It is another beautiful day here, and you are watching the Spin Zone. This show is brought to you on behalf of the Daily Bread Network, and I'm your host, Spin Doc. I had a few work and family medical situation the last few days, so no show the last 2 days. Apologize for that, but all is well. All is good with everything. Actually, in a really, really good mood today. I had my longest running dynasty league draft last night, and whew, man, do I love my team. It's rare that I come out of a draft like really, really liking my team. I'm usually one of the most hypercritical people of my own team, but I mean, it's a team that I'm very, very, very happy with. Long story, I'll spare you the details about like how it was built because we do have keepers, but Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, Kenneth Walker, Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, Garrett Wilson, and a whole host of other ones. I'm really good for this season, and I got my biggest money league tonight. So we'll talk about football in a little bit. But as I said, this show is brought to you on behalf of the Daily Bread Network on YouTube. If you have not subscribed yet, please do that. We have a whole bunch of NFL content from Sosa, myself, others, a whole bunch of other people. So please also, if you like what you hear, give this video a like, give it a share, and also you can find me at Spin Doc Sports. So a lot to get to today. I have 3 pictures to cover. As always, if there's any that I don't cover that you wanted to talk about, please shout them out in the chat. Go ahead and put them in there, and we can talk about them at the end. But I do have a whole whole bunch of stuff going on here, and a whole bunch of last minute fantasy stuff. If you got your draft coming up, I've been making draft boards like crazy for people. Can explain to you how you can get one of those, again, customized to your scoring system. The standard ESPN, the standard CBS cheat sheets, they're fine, they're okay, but they're not customized to your scoring system. They're generic. And so your league has nuances that can move guys a tick up or a tick down. And it's a lot deeper than just like draft Jamar Chase, obviously. I'll get to that in just a moment. Let's talk some Major League Baseball first, because we got 3 pitchers to get to today. Before we do, I see Cover Kings in the chat. Thank you for joining Cover Kings, as always. And Cover Kings has a parlay here for 1 unit on the Boise State money line and Garrett Crochet at 6+ strikeouts. So Garrett Crochet, 6+ strikeouts across sport parlay with the Boise State money line. All right. So speaking of Mr. Garrett Crochet, he actually happens to be the first pitcher that we're going to talk about. So Garrett Crochet, the lefty, at a 31.2% strikeout percentage, and he has a 6.3 walk percentage. Really, the American League Cy Young right now is him and Scooble as 1A, 1B. You can flip a coin for who's ahead right now or who's going to take it. I'd probably give a slight nod to Scooble, but man, Crochet is just having an absolute monster of a season. You couldn't go wrong either way. But he gets the Orioles today, and he gets a line that is, oh my goodness. 8.5. So first of all, you know my feelings on these mega massive lines, is that for them to hit, virtually nothing can go wrong. You have a lot of risk on the line, and there's just not a whole lot of wiggle room. So we look at Crochet, and when I break this one down, you can see the raw number at the bottom that I come up with, but let me explain a few things to think about before you run to the window. First thing is we have this lineup, which is which is projected to be 4 lefties and 5 righties. Not sure if that's what they'll actually go with, but if they do, with Garrett Crochet forever and always this year, the thing to look at is the zone swing and the zone contact. The reason is very simple. Garrett Crochet spends almost 53% of his time in the zone. It's 5% above the average. He also allows under 80% for zone contact. Now, when you have guys that either swing and whiff in the zone, or you have guys that take in the zone for a guy that against a guy that throws there that often, you can put yourself in those pitchers' counts. And when Garrett Crochet gets ahead, you can see in the bottom right how dominant he is. 49.8% when he's ahead in the count versus 16.3 when he's not. When he throws outside of the strike zone or when he gets balls early in the count, it doesn't tend to lead to a strikeout. And this is actually a pretty big disparity because you look at a guy like Scooble, for example, and he's got almost a 50% strikeout rate when he's ahead, but also when he gets behind, he's got, I think it's somewhere in like the low to mid 20s, which is actually, you might think, okay, wow, that's a big difference too, but that's actually really good. Like that's hot. When Tarek Skubal gets behind in the count is actually higher than a number of starting pitchers' overall strikeout rate, to put it in perspective. But 49 to 16 is a real big discrepancy. So you have to look at which guys don't swing in the zone. And looking at this lineup, for guys that swing below league average, we only have two. Now, Gunnar Henderson technically is below league average, but you see the numbers. That's basically league average. So we have Mayo and we have Kauser. And both of those guys take in the zone. Both of their zone contact percentages are under the 80%, are under the 80% threshold. So what that means is that both of them, to me, are high percentage candidates, not only for one strikeout, but probably two. I'm actually going to be looking at potentially doing some hitter strikeout parlays for this one, because especially with those two guys. Now, for both of them to have one strikeout, assuming that they are both in, you're not going to get any price at all. That's going to be really, really bad. But if there are some things you can potentially do with two strikeouts for both of those guys, because they both take in the zone. Crochet throws in the zone a lot, and their zone contact is poor. So I have both of them for 1+. And I think between the two of them, you're probably going to get 3 strikeouts. Now we'll go to the rest of the guys who swing and whiff in the zone. And boy, are there a lot. So you have 7 guys, not 5 more in the lineup, that are under league average when it comes to zone contact. Now, the ones that are the poorest would be Jackson, who's projected to bat in the 5 hole. And he also has a poor contact rate outside of the zone as well. He also has a very, very poor whiff rate to a 4-seam fastball at 31.6. Crochet gets a lot of whiff with his fastball, and his fastball is one of his strikeout pitches because he can run up the velo so well, and because his location is so pristine. So when you have a guy who whiffs to a 4-seam fastball like Jackson does, that's another 1+. So you add Kauser, you add Jackson, and you add Mayo, and you probably have 4, potentially 5 strikeouts right there between those 3. So if you're looking for guys to take shots on, if they're assuming they're in the lineup, for 2+ strikeouts on any book as a hitter, Mayo, Jackson, and Kauser are the 3 that not only do you want in, but you also would want to take a shot at 2+ strikeouts on any of them, or even combine a few. If you wanted to put like another parlay piece in for something, you're not going to get good odds, but 1 strikeout for them, it's probably going to be like -400 or 500. But you can use that. Those are the 3 guys that I think, when you compare their swing profile, have the highest potential chance to whiff to Garrett Crochet. So again, that's Mayo, that's Jackson, and that's Kauser. If all 3 are in the lineup, the over can be in play even at this incredibly high number. If 2 of these 3 are out, the 9+ is going to be a little sketchy for me. 8, yeah, for sure. I can still see it. 7, I can definitely see, but man, 9 is just such a high number. So we go to the rest of the lineup, and if we assume with those 3, let's just say you have 4, possibly 5 strikeouts. Now you got to get 4 more across the rest of the lineup. So can Garrett Crochet do it? Well, of course he can. Dylan Carlson can be a strikeout candidate. He swings a lot in the zone. Zone contact percentage under 80, but he doesn't whiff to Crochet's pitches. I put him down for a 1. But depending on how long Crochet goes, he might only face him twice. And then if that's going to happen, now that one probably goes down to a 0.75, maybe down to even do a 0.5. If I say it's a 50-50 shot. So it's going to depend on how Crochet manages his pitch count in the upper part of this lineup, especially because you have a few of the guys that take or that don't swing as often in the top three spots. Because even though I said Henderson and Holiday, those two are basically league average, they also have around league average zone contact. But as you can see, Henderson has basically struck out nearly every time he's faced Crochet. Holiday has poor chase contact, so I had to put them both for ones. So if Crochet stays in the zone, if he's hitting his spots in the zone, which based on his innings prop and based on his walks prop, it says that he will, then he can motor down to the bottom of this lineup where you have Cowser, where you have Carlson, where you have Jackson, even guys like that, where if you're going to face them three times, 9 is not a super high bar to clear. If he's only going to get down, let's just say this is the lineup, if he's only going to get down to Jackson three times, and he's going to miss Cowser, he's going to miss Carlson, he's going to miss Rivera even, then 9 might be a hill to climb. So where I'm thinking with this one is a couple of things. Number one is you cannot go under on this prop. This is an over or nothing prop. This is, or take it down, like put it with something like I saw Cover Kings do. Put it with something, add it to some kind of other ticket, take it down as far as you want, because if this is the projected lineup, I see 7 for sure. 8, yeah, I can definitely see it. 9 is going to take a day. Now, he's Garrett Crochet, so he can for sure have a day, and especially because a lot of these guys haven't seen him before. So you have Holiday, Mayo, Jackson, Basallo, and Rivera. So even the guy like Basallo, who has great contact metrics, I still had to put as a 50-50 shot because he's never seen Crochet before. And a lot of guys aren't used to pitchers just literally coming at them this aggressively with four-seam fastballs and with cutters. So I might be interested depending on the final lineup, especially if you get one of these guys that take out of there. If you get Cowser, if you get Mayo, or if you get, Cowser, Mayo for sure out of there, one of the two of them. Maybe I go from not being as interested in the strikeouts to the innings, because right now 18.5 is the outs prop, and that's a decent plus money on most books. So if you're going to get guys that are going to swing this aggressively, I mean, you can see some of these swing rates in the zone. Mountcastle at 74.6, Jackson at 71, Basallo at 77, Rivera 74, Carlson 70, even Holiday is up at 70. So if you're going to get a whole team that's going to swing 70% of the time in the zone, chances are that at least at some point, one or a few of them will make contact. That can lead to quick outs, because against the four-seamer and the cutter, you have over half the lineup that has a poor whiff percentage to one or both of them. So I've given you a lot of information. Where I stand right now is I'm interested in 8. I'm putting 7 with something is fine. I'm not sure I can get to 9 unless you give me one more guy in this lineup. So you'd have to taking out Basallo would be fine. Taking out even Rivera would be fine. Having Mountcastle not in the lineup, because he's the one guy that has good past history and swings aggressively, would be fine. You take one of those guys out and you replace him with a guy that doesn't swing in the zone like Mayo or Cowser. Now I think that 9 is a very easy hill to climb. So right now, as it stands, if this is the projected lineup that they're going to run with, or if you have to bet it at this second, I would take it down to 8, put it with something that you like, or just go to 8 and whatever the juice is and just put 1 unit straight up on the 8+. I just get a little worried that with this many guys that swing aggressively, he can make a lot of them miss, but to make every single guy that swings that aggressively miss that often to get to 9, again, mega lines like this, always my fear, nothing can go wrong. You can't have a bad inning. You can't have a 20 pitch, 1 strikeout inning. I mean, you think about if he's only going to pitch 6 innings as the books and lines suggest, he basically is going to have to strike out 2 guys per inning almost. Can he do it? Of course he can. He's Garrett Crochet. He absolutely can. But if you're going to get this many guys that swing aggressively, you might run out of runway for this one, which is why I would prefer the 8. So we got a couple things. Cover King saying, yeah, I think Scooble takes it too. I do too. I think that Scooble's in the driver's seat, but I think that Crochet just keeps challenging. And I think as long as Scooble pitches even close to how he has been, I think that he'll probably win the award, but I think that the vote would be a lot closer than people would lead you to believe. But yeah, I would agree, Cover Kings. I still think it's Scooble's award to lose, but man is Crochet pitching well. Actually, it's too bad that Crochet didn't pitch in the National League because, Zach Wheeler, prayers up for him and his speedy recovery. But if he was doing this and then with Wheels going out, then honestly, they probably both deserve a Cy Young award, but it's an award where you can't have co-winners. So we'll see what happens. What's up to JMain34? What is up, my friend? Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being here. And JMain is on Red Sox over 2.5. It says ER. I'm assuming it's a team total. That's my guess, is a team total. Red Sox over 2.5 team total in the first 5 going against Cade Povich. So, all right, we will move on to the next pitcher on the list, and that would be Mr. Logan Webb. Logan Webb is striking guys out at a 26% clip, and he is walking guys at a 5.4% clip. Logan Webb gets the Cubs today at home with a line probably right around where it should be, with an over 5.5 at -135 and an under that has a little bit of juice to it. So here's what we have. We have Logan Webb, who has some history against the Cubs. So he has he's been in the league for a long time, so he's seen a lot of guys in this lineup. Now, this year is a little bit different. And the reason why it's different is, I've talked about this before on here, is the use of his changeup. And so Logan Webb's changeup whiff percentage this year is a gaudy 32.8%. Now, from a pitcher's perspective, pitcher average is like about 24 or 25. So you might think why is it gaudy? Well, the reason why is because in past years it's been like 19 to 20. So he changed the delivery, he changed the angle, he changed a lot of things on his changeup. And because he made it a get out pitch, and he made it one of his primary get out pitches, and it plays so well because coming in, it looks like his sinker, which is his most off-thrown pitch. So Logan Webb obviously does not have an overpowering fastball. It's like 91 to 93. I don't even think it's as good as, say, Jack Flaherty's. And I talk about Jack Flaherty's non-dominant fastball all the time. It's not how Logan Webb gets guys. Logan Webb gets guys by having precise location and being able to, this is the SNS combo that I've talked about here before. I've talked about a lot, is the SNS combo is speed and sight lines. So you change speeds and you change the sight line of the hitter, because the sinker typically runs closer to the top of the zone to come down. Then you run with the sweeper away, and then you have a changeup going the other way low. So Logan Webb's got pitches going all over like this, and all of them have enough of a discrepancy in velo where it can really, really mess hitters up. And what it messes up is non-disciplined hitters. And so that's what I look for when I try to run anything with Logan Webb. You can see the discrepancy in his zone to chase contact. His zone contact, even though his strikeouts are up and his whiff rate is up on his changeup, is that his zone contact rate is 3% worse than league average. So, and that's what comes when you don't have a dominating four-seam fastball or you throw a sinker, is that a sinker is most often meant to be put into play. It's meant to be thrown closer to the top of the zone and then be sinking down. So the hitter swings at it like it's a fastball, swings down on top of it, which induces a ground ball. That is the primary goal of most sinker pitches and most sinker ballers. Now, where Logan Webb has changed things up is with his locations. He's getting more foul balls on that pitch, which then sets up the sweeper or the change, which, as I mentioned, go in different directions, different speeds, different sight lines. So you need a team that's disciplined if you're not going to strike out against Logan Webb. Undisciplined teams can strike out a ton against this guy because his chase contact rate is so low and because he has such precise locations on his pitch. So we look at this Cubs lineup, which is 4 lefties and 5 righties. And what we see here is I'm looking for chase rate and I'm looking for I'm looking for chase rate and I'm looking for chase contact. Now, I actually have a typo here because Nico Horner doesn't chase 75.1% of the time. That's his actual contact rate. So that number is in the low 30s. So he chases a little bit, but has a very poor Webb has a poor pass history, so we won't count that one. So you look at this lineup top to bottom and you don't see a whole lot of chase. You see PCA, that's about it. PCA is the only guy that has a lot of chase, so he stays home and he stays patient. So I go and I look and then I see that, oh wait, only 3 of these 9 hitters have zone contact under league average as well. PCA again, Ian Happ, whose Webb's gotten more than a few times. Same thing with Dansby Swanson. So if I put PCA for almost 1, if I put Dansby and Happ for 1 each, if this is the lineup that they run, now we got 3. So then the question becomes, where are the other 3 going to come from? Well, they're probably not going to come from Tucker or Nico Horner. They're a combined 0 Ks in 18 plate appearances against Webb. Both have the contact metrics that you want to see. So both of those are considered dead spots. So now if you assume 3 strikeouts from those 3 total in whatever fashion or order, now you got to go Bush, Suzuki, Kelly, Shaw. Bush, Suzuki, Kelly, Shaw. And you have to get one of 2 things. You either have to get the first 3 I mentioned. We have to get one or more of them more than once, which typically gives against a pitcher like Webb is not the Cubs' forte. Could, but it's not the typical forte. Same thing goes with, of those 4, you have to get 3 of them. Now, you look at the past history here and you see Carson Kelly as an example. 1 K in 6 plate appearances. He doesn't chase and he makes good zone contact. He's not the kind of guy that strikes out. So now you're down to needing to get Bush, Suzuki, and Shaw. Bush, Suzuki, and Shaw. And you got to get them all, or you got to get somebody more than once. Suzuki has been very strikeout prone for a period of time and been in a slump. He hasn't been the best lately, but he doesn't chase at all. He doesn't chase at all. His zone contact is good enough, and he's got decent pass history against Webb where I could only put him for a half. Same thing goes with Bush. It's a somewhat similar story. So if you're only going to get 1 strikeout between those 2, you can see where I'm going with this. The math doesn't math. The math's not mathing. So what I would much rather do if I'm playing Logan Webb is I would much rather take a half unit shot on the under 5.5 at plus money than I would trying to find ways with this projected lineup with teams that do not chase. Because again, Logan Webb doesn't make you miss in the zone. That's what happens when you only have a sinker and a 4-seamer that average 91, 92. Doesn't make you miss in the zone. It's the changeup and it's the sweeper that gets you. And this team just does not have a whole lot of chasers. They don't have a whole lot of guys that chase. So when that happens, you give me a choice. I can either pay juice for an over 5.5, or I can have a plus money on an under. We also have Logan Webb, who averages about 18 outs a game and has gone over 18 outs has gone 18 plus outs in 4 straight. And we're getting a juiced under for him at home where he's hit this a ton. it tells me that, not to say that he's going to get lit up or rocked or anything, but it does tell me that if you're going to play this one, the under is the value. Now, if the Cubs happen to put in any more guys who chase, because right now you just have PCA and you have Shaw. If any other guys are going to be in this lineup that chase, and you're going to take one of the, like if you take Carson Kelly out, if for whatever reason Tucker or Nico Horner are out, if any one of those guys are out, now there are paths to the over in a lot of ways. So when I sent this out to VIP this morning, I said it's a TBD one because I said I could go either way here. But if the projected lineup is what they want to run, and if they're going to put only two guys who chase in here, I got to lean on the under. Because I just broke the whole thing down for you and trying to think of, like, unless somebody is going to have a stupid, horrible day, or unless Logan Webb is going to, take some performance enhancing drugs this morning and, eat his spinach like Popeye and just go ballistic. All of those things could happen. But when you look at it, like, what's the most likely result? The math doesn't math. I see one from Crow. I see from PCA. I see one from Swanson. I see one from Hap. Then I'm struggling because I don't see one from Tucker. I don't see one from Dansby. And I got Bush and Suzuki at 50-50. I got Shaw as a possible, even trending towards likely, and Carson Kelly as unlikely. So those two cancel each other out. And now if I'm going to pay juice, I need a reasonable belief that there's a guy in the lineup, or probably two for a 5.5 line, that are going to strike out twice. And I do not have that in this lineup. I have the only guy that I see as the potential under normal circumstances to strike out twice would be Dansby Swanson. But if he's batting down in the 8-hole, there is a chance that Webb will only face him 2 times. And expecting a guy to strike out both times with against a pitcher like Logan Webb is just not. The math doesn't math here. So under or nothing for me. If you want to play it right this second, there's much more value on an under 5.5 at plus 105 than there is on paying juice. All right. That will do it for Mr. Webb. Last but not least is the return. Well, he's been back, but next start back, Mr. Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola is this year striking guys out at 23.9%, limited sample size. Walking guys at 6.9%. He gets the Braves, a team which he is oh so ever familiar with, which I'll explain in a second. And we have a slightly juiced on both sides at 5.5. Okay, so with Nola back, and there is an outs prop for him at 17.5. He recorded in his first start back. He had a lighter start. Oh, actually, part of it was because he got torched. But he came back in the next one and back-to-back against the Nats and recorded 18 outs. And his line is set at 17.5. So you have to assume that this is going to be at least a reasonably normal start for Aaron Nola. Now, I talked about the past history, and oh, baby, is there a lot of it right here. There's a ton of past history. 297 plate appearances. This is a very, very familiar opponent. So with this Braves lineup, what I have to look for is a couple things. Number one is, are the books going with the past history, or are they ignoring it? And we get something somewhere in between, because with a 297 plate appearances and a 21.9% strikeout rate, and he's at home. So what this tells me is that under normal circumstances, 5-ish would be about the right number based on the lengthy and extensive past history. What would also tell me is then he's at home, so I'm going to give him a little bump. And then you have a few of the younger guys who haven't faced him in the lineup, like Nacho Alvarez in the 8-hole, and even Allen potentially in the 9-hole. That's what gets you your 5.5 with light juice on both sides. Now, where do we go with this one? Well, assuming this lineup, the 5 and 4, is where we're at, then the books, they're not ignoring past history, but they're not like leaning and harping on it. It's just kind of it was a factor that was used, because if they were going to ignore past history, they would put this one at an over 5.5 at like -145, -150 because of some of the contact metrics for the Braves. If they were going to ignore, or if they were going to lean on the past history, you'd probably get this more juice to the under. So we're somewhere in between, which tells me that the line is pretty close to correct. Now, if we do get this lineup, then we do have Ozzy Albus and Jerkson Profar. Both of them, as I mean, you can see, Albus has faced Nola like a bazillion times, and Profar is only struck out 2 in 21. I have to consider both of them essentially dead spots. There's not a whole lot that would tell me, even in their recent history, and Nola from his return, that this is going to be a horribly different result. So between the two of them, I think it's probably 25% or less that you get a strikeout. So now you got to go to the rest of the lineup. So you have the one extreme. Now we go to the other extreme and we look at guys like Nacho Alvarez, who's projected to bat in the 8 hole and has poor zone contact, and also has a lot of take in the zone. Nola, his zone percentage is 47.3, but since he's been back, it's been up a little bit. So you're going to take, and you're going to have poor zone contact, and you're going to get yourself into a first strike percentage at 63.8% of the time above league average. Nola's K percentage goes up. Never faced him before. Got to put him for one. I also have to put one for Marcell Ozuna because of the strikeout history. The innings prop says that Nola's going to face him 3 times, and he struck out basically 33%. So 1 out of every 3 plate appearances. You can do the math. And he takes a ton in the zone. He's got one of the lowest zone swing rates, which is where Nola, again, has been operating at a little bit more since his return. So you add all that up, and I think that that's a gettable spot. I also think that, even though I didn't put it as a full one, Acuna can be a gettable spot as well because of his zone contact and because of his whiff percentage to both the 4-seamer, which Nola doesn't have a dominating one, but I mean, it's okay. It's all right. And his changeup. So then you do all that math, and that gets you to about 3.5 to 4. So now you got to go through the rest of the lineup, and you got to think between Olson, Harris, Baldwin, Allen. Can he get 2 to 3 of those? Because again, we're not counting on somebody striking out twice. There's nobody in this lineup, given this how much past history there is and how detailed their scouting report, I'm certain, is on Aaron Nola, that I would say would be a great candidate to strike out twice. If you had to pick one, I'd probably pick Ozuna, but I wouldn't have a whole lot of confidence in it. When I look for guys who are going to strike out twice, I either look for guys that have like absurd past history. So like if Ozuna's strikeout percentage in this many plate appearances was like close to 50, that might be an option, and they probably would bench him anyway. Or a guy that has terrible correlative metrics for what the pitcher does. So like all those Orioles hitters that take in the zone and don't have good zone contact, who have never seen Crochet before. Even if your overall contact metrics are iffy, kind of, sort of, if you've seen a guy enough times, which obviously Albus, Acuna, etc., Olson, they all have, is that you can still make adjustments. There's still muscle memory in play. So it makes it a little bit tougher for the pitcher to record those Ks against a guy who has seen them a bazillion times. So you add all that up, and this is one where I think that 5 works. I'm not sure that I can get to 6 if they're going to not bat Albies or Profar today, which I don't know why you wouldn't. But if for some reason either one of those guys are going to be out, now I'm much more interested in the 6+. But I'm really not in the business of taking undershots on the Braves. They've been a severe disappointment way too many times. I try to be very selective about when I do it. Against a divisional rival like this is probably not a spot that I have a ton of interest in. So what I'd rather do with Nola is just pull him down to 5 and put him with something else. But if you're playing this, if you want to play this straight up, to me, there's actually more value on the under 5.5 at plus money than there would be at trying to pay juice for an over if this is the lineup that Atlanta happens to run. So again, I try to go through this analytically and surgically and just try to think of like, where are these strikeouts going to come from? So it's not going to come from Profar. It's not going to come from Albies. One is good chance to come from Alvarez. It's good chance to come from Ozuna. Acuna, he can get. And then you got a bunch of 50-50s. I mean, you see on the right-hand side, chances of Kane. You got 2 high, 2 low, and 5 just kind of in the middle. So that's not something that I really want to put a lot of backing behind for a team that has seen this guy 300 times in a lineup. And there's guys on the bench that have seen him a bunch too, who are going to be there and who can lend expertise and talk. There's a whole bunch of history, scouting, et cetera, that the Braves have on Aaron Nola, and familiarity can breed contact, especially familiarity with veteran hitters, which is what a lot of these guys, I mean, guys like Alvarez, et cetera, aren't, but most of these guys are. So if you want to play it standalone right now, I would have a lean on the under 5.5 at plus money. If you want anything to do with the over at all, I absolutely would pull it down to 5. I actually wouldn't be opposed to putting a few dollars on 5 exactly, because every scenario I run, math, trends, simulate everything, the number that comes up with this projected lineup more often than any by a lot is 5 exactly. So some books offer like plus 300, plus 350 on 5 strikeouts exactly. You can do some lunch money on that as well. So that's what I would do with Mr. Nolan. All right. Again, if there's any pitchers you wanted to hear about, want some quick looks on, quick views, feel free to put them in the chat. I can get to them. Otherwise, we'll just talk about other looks and sides and totals. I know it's a short day, so there might not be any. So if you're looking for some sides, I think that there's not value on the Diamondbacks at plus 145 today. I think that there's value on the Braves, we just talked about, at plus 165. I think if you really, really want to live dangerously, the Marlins at plus 210, it has value. I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to get there, but plus 210 is decent value for a divisional game like this. So those would be the 3 that I would be looking at, but definitely Diamondbacks and Braves, I think, have some value at their respective prices. Now you want to talk about totals, and the under 8 for Pittsburgh and St. Louis has some value. You also have this is probably a little chalkier because of who's pitching, and because it's a divisional game, but you also have the Braves and Phillies under 9.5 or under 9, one of the two. And then the little bit of value on the Yankees team total over, little bit. I'm not sure I'll be able to get there with anything. So shorter day, but that's where we're at. I say Kid Keon is in the house. Thank you for joining, Kid Keon, asking about Shota Imanaga. So Imanaga gets the Giants. For an afternoon game, is a 5.5 line with some juice on the under. He's 5-5 to this number last 10. When he's been set at this number in that same time frame, he's 2-3. And with Shota, I have a lean on this. I have a little bit, a slight, ever so slight lean on this one, and I'm watching the line to see if it's going to cooperate. Is that if we get enough chasers in this lineup, then I think that it's something that I probably am going to want the over for. Shota does spend 56% of his time in the zone, but he also does generate a 30.6% chase rate. So if you're going to give me enough guys that are going to chase to his secondary pitches, then I might be interested in the over. I also think that the post lineup release line movement can be telling about where the books think that this one's going to land as well, because you also have the Giants in a day game, and they've been a little bit better at it lately, but there have been some, especially day games that are moving days because they play tomorrow. They stay at home, but they get Baltimore coming into town tomorrow. But even on any moving day, last day of a series, day game after a night game, they have had the penchant for putting out some really gross lineups. And if they're going to do that, then I'm definitely interested in the over. So as of right now, I'm probably looking over or nothing. But we'll see what happens or what the Giants actually decide to do. All right. I think that will do it for sides, totals, etc. Let's talk some NFL training camp. As training camps wind down, teams make their final cuts. We have a whole bunch of injury stuff, a whole bunch of stuff to just kind of go through. So big thing I want to start with, he was on my "you'll probably thank me later" list for a guy you should avoid. Hopefully you watch that show and hopefully you listen, because it's coming true. Joe Mixon. The Texans GM was asked yesterday if Joe Mixon will play at all. Because remember, he's on the PUP, or he's on the IR, so he's out for 4 games. And the question literally was, will Joe Mixon play football at all this season? And the answer should not inspire any confidence at all, because it was, we'll see, we'll take it one day at a time. And once we get through the first 4 weeks, we'll evaluate it. That doesn't sound good at all. That sounds like a team that knows that their running back is quite injured, or it's not getting better, and they might be without him for the entire year. I said this to VIP last night because I talked about how I finished my One Big Dynasty draft. I have my last draft of the ones that I do of my regular leagues tonight, and I have exactly 0 Houston Texans players on all of those teams combined, and I wouldn't be surprised if I walk away with none tonight. Now, most are keeper leagues, and I don't have Nico Collins, and he is kept in all of them, so a little bit of caveat. If he wasn't, I would be in some fashion on Nico Collins. But Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, CJ Stroud, the combination of their offensive line, I just don't like it. I don't like it for fantasy purposes. I'm not even saying that they're going to be a bad team or not have a chance to compete in the AFC South. But that's where you have to separate good for fantasy or good as a football team, because there have been a lot of teams that have made the NFL playoffs that have almost no fantasy value across their roster. Likewise, there's teams that miss the playoffs wildly and have all kinds of guys that have fantasy value. So you have to be able to separate the two. So I think, so this has nothing to do with, do I think that the Texans are going to be a good or bad team? What it has more to do with is the fact that there are very few players on this team that I want. That comment about Joe Mixon, man, doesn't sound good. Next one is Rashee Rice. The league finally resolved the Rashee Rice situation. Basically, to go back, Rashee Rice was in that huge traffic accident thing that he caused in Dallas. And so there were going to be criminal charges. Actually, I think he is pleading guilty to something. But the discrepancy was that the Chiefs were pushing for a shorter suspension. The league wanted a much longer one, kind of like a send the message one. And the Chiefs were ready to fight that one, as was the players union, because there really wasn't a precedent for it. So as I expected them to do, they met in the middle, and Rashee Rice will be suspended for 6 games. It'll be the start of the season. So if you had draft or have Rashee Rice, you will get him back week 8, because 7 is the Chiefs' bye, I believe. So you'll get him back right around the end point of the season. Now, there's good news and bad news here. And so the bad news, obviously, is you'll be without him. And so if your league doesn't have an IR spot, or a spot you can put somebody on when they're suspended and open up an extra roster spot, I wouldn't bother with Rashee Rice. I would let somebody else incur the roster spot. Remember, you can always approach somebody for a trade as he gets closer to return or sometime when he's out. But if your league has an IR spot, it's not the worst thing in the world to take him in the latter part of the middle rounds of the draft and then just stash him and save the roster spot, because he's going to be fresh. He's going to be ready. The Chiefs have already said that when he comes back, he's their wide receiver 1. So I would not be opposed to still taking a shot on Rashee Rice. And again, it's not like he's hurt and he's coming back. And it's not like he's not going to be able to like study the offense and figure out what they're doing. He's going to have a little rust, but he could come back at the most opportune time, which would be fantasy playoff time, and peak at fantasy playoff time. So I wouldn't be opposed to Rashee Rice at all. The next one is a guy that I still have no interest in at all, is Najee Harris. Was activated from the PUP list, and there's a chance he can play week 1. He's going to be back practicing with the team. I've said this for months. VIP knows that probably about 2.5 months before he even hurt his eye, I said, this will be Omarion Hampton's backfield. It might not be his backfield week 1. He might have some timeshare stuff and some pass blocking thing to learn and blah, 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 blah. This will be Omarion Hampton's backfield. He's more explosive. He's got more juice. He's a guy that they went out and got in the draft. He matches everything that a running back that has been successful in a Greg Roman offense has been. So I love Omarion Hampton. I have the number 2 pick in a rookies only draft that precedes our main draft for my biggest money league tonight. And I'm assuming Genty will go 1. I've already basically told the league, I'm taking Omarion Hampton, the end. And I'm not trading it, and no one can. That you would have to offer me like a Godfather offer to make me trade this pick, especially in a dynasty league. So big fan of Omarion Hampton. And then the only other one just I wanted to talk about was Adam Thielen is coming home. He's coming here. His house is actually not too far away from where I'm sitting right now. It's a quite nice house. And I expect to see him back at our church, because that's where he goes. So it's a feel-good story. It's awesome, neat. From a fantasy perspective, I wouldn't really count on a ton from Adam Thielen. I think that early you can probably count on him to be like a wide receiver 3. He also can play well in leagues that reward more, that are more touchdown heavy than yardage heavy. But let's be real, I love the guy, and Minnesota loves him up here, but he is 35 years old. He looked a step slow last year, had some injuries, nicks and bumps and bruises that comes from being a physical receiver in the NFL over that long of a career. Now, when he is also insurance for until Jordan Addison comes back. Jordan Addison's 12 years younger and has burst and explosiveness galore. There's no threat to Jordan Addison's roster / rotation spot for Adam Thielen. He will still be on the field because the Vikings are expected to pass a decent amount, but I can see him now being more of a fantasy, like a wide receiver 3 or flex. And then when Addison comes back, moving to like a low end flex, like for bye weeks, and being more of like a guy to work the over the middle stuff, just to provide a safety valve for JJ McCarthy, so that Addison and JJ and a couple of their other guys who they have with some deep speed can go deep. So I'm just saying, just don't go crazy for Adam Thielen just because he's back in Minnesota. It's a feel good story and I love it. And the video of him and his daughter like reacting and his daughter all excited is like the cutest thing ever. So it's on social media if you want to watch it. And Adam Thielen is a hell of a good dude. He does a ton for the community. He's invested in several businesses here. We love him, but I'm just talking about from a pure fantasy football standpoint is just don't go crazy. Okay, I think that'll do it for today. Run through the chat one more time. Say thank you to Cover Kings, J Main, Kid Keon. Thank you all. I know it's a short day of baseball, short day of stuff. So back with you tomorrow with I believe we're doing a Friday Super Show, so we'll be back with that, and more details will be coming. So on behalf of the Daily Bread Network, if you are not subscribed, please do. For all of our daily content on YouTube, follow me at Spin Doc Sports, like, share the video. Appreciate all of you. And at the buzzer, thank you, Ted Montana. Appreciate you as well. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you, everybody. Best of luck in all your action. See you then.